All right, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you everyone for joining us today for our summer research info session. My name is Adriana Reyes, and I help manage some of the parts of this. You'll also hear from my colleague Dario and some of our student and faculty members who've been part of our summer research program to really get their experiences and learn more about what they've been doing over the summer. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll also leave some time towards the end of the presentation to answer any questions you may have. So to get us started, we just wanted to highlight summer 2020 and talk a little bit about what that looked like. So we had over 60 students who participated in our summer research program. That was both undergraduate and MS students. And we had 42 PIs who offered positions. And we will note there were definitely more than that, but these are the ones that we were more directly in contact with and helped within our program. And then you'll see some departments that are listed. These are the ones, once again, that were represented. We will say, in case your department is not up here, that doesn't mean you can't get a research position. One of the questions that we get asked a lot is, do I have to stay in my own discipline? And the answer is no, you are not limited to just your department. Definitely pay attention to more of the eligibility requirements because professors may just ask that you have some of that academic background from their area. And then also highlighted on the slide are some of our students. So we always end our summer research program with our October research symposium. And that's a way for us to give you more of that experience presenting research and really prepare for some of those conferences down the line. So even if we do it on Zoom again, we will be having that. Similar with these positions, we are still waiting to hear more about what summer will look like as far as in-person presence at Columbia, given COVID, but we were able to offer these positions remotely, and we're definitely ready to do that again if needed. So definitely don't let that be a hindrance to you, that you should be able to still find a research position. So then how do I get a research position? So this is definitely another big question we get asked. The first little tip we wanted to give is to go to our student research website. And this is something that my colleague Dario will actually walk us through in just a couple of minutes. He's the one who manages that site, and it has a lot of really great resources, not just the positions from faculty, but also different things that will help you once you are really navigating the different resources, where you want to apply, and what that looks like. One of our pieces of advice is always to read online more about what faculty are doing, the labs. They'll typically post maybe some of their publications as well. And that's a great way for you to get some more background information, especially if you are a newer researcher. We know it can be very overwhelming to see all of the different postings that are on the website. That way you can really hone in more directly on what some of your interests are. So you're not spending tons of time interviewing and applying with every single PI, but you can really get that handful that you're most interested in. And then really with that, just wanting to plug in the Center for Career Education. So if you maybe don't know how to outreach to faculty members, you want to look over your resume before you're sending off some of those materials, we have some great advisors there, and they're always very open and welcome to working with our engineering students to get them prepared for applying to these different lab positions. And then before I turn it over to Dario, here's our QR code for the student research website. If you want to take your phone out and follow along while he goes over it, you can definitely do that. So I'll just leave it up for another second. And then I will turn it over to Dario. The URL will also be on the slide, and he'll walk us through some of the different parts of the website.
All right, thank you, Adriana. So for those of you new to Columbia, especially our first years, so this is just a screenshot of the Columbia Engineering homepage. If you want to find us, the quickest way to find us, if you click on the hamburger menu of the engineering homepage, we have a spot here that you can locate our website, and it's just undergraduate research opportunities. And that is the quickest way of getting to our website. And once you do arrive to our website, you'll be able to click on research opportunities. On the right, you get to see some of what you'll find there, which is broken down by departments and based on summer opportunities, any of our spring. There's a couple of spring open opportunities at the moment, so please take a look. And really what we're trying to do here is really collect all the amazing opportunities available to you at Columbia. And you can take a look, and next slide. You can take a look on our website and you'll find information about what the position entails, whether the position's online or whether it's a hybrid position, both in person and remote. Additionally, you'll get to see who the PI or faculty member working on the research and learn more about what dates, how many hours of commitment, whether there's credit or whether it's a paid position, what kind of qualifications. Do you need to know Python, any other sort of skills? MATLAB is a very common sort of skill that we hear from students. So do take a look, um, read more information about the different opportunities. And like Adriana said, let's say you're a student in one department, a lot of the research also does cross into different disciplines. So do take a look at the exciting opportunities there are to really take an opportunity to learn something new or continue some research from this school year. And with that, I'll turn it back to Adriana. If you have any more questions about the website, I'll stick around towards the end for the Q&A. Thank you, Adriana.
Thanks, Dario. So then the next part we want to talk about is our Summer at Sea seminars. You'll actually hear from two of our faculty members in just a bit who've also presented during these. So this is our summer enrichment program that also happens at Seas during our research term. And these are really ways for us to give our student researchers some more information, more skills about what it means to be a student researcher. And then also to hear from some of our faculty members on research they're doing. So to maybe get some more interest so you can learn more about the research happening at Columbia. This is open to all of our students participating in these research labs. Last summer we did host these all on Zoom. So at that point, it really is a free-for-all if you're interested. Even if you're not doing research, it's definitely something that we're very open. We want to share this information with our students. And there's no formal application for this either. It really is just another event that you can log into. And like we mentioned before, once we find out more of what the summer at Columbia will look like, we will put some more guidance on our research website. These will be in Zoom, if they're person, hybrid, information like that. Some of our past seminars you can see here. So the art of presentation, learning more about how to use journal articles in your research. How do I narrow it down from hundreds of thousands to just the few that I need? We also typically have one with our partnership with Johnson & Johnson, our Women in STEM program. So we did this academia versus industry panel to really learn more about the two different ways your career can go and hear from some of the women who have gone on those career paths. And then of course, our faculty research presentations as well. And then we just included some student quotes that we've been told, aside from just that we usually provide really good lunches. They always say that they really like the variety of topics we had, and also really do hear about those different research positions that professors are offering, what they're involved in, especially from outside their department, since it's not something that they may always be aware of. And then just a tip to quickly touch on funding, because this is another big question. The biggest thing I want to make clear is if you hear things like Dean's Office funding, Summer at Seas funding, that's actually not something our students directly apply to. So we just want to make sure that's clear, because we do typically get questions on those applications, but they do not exist. That's actually something our faculty will apply for, and they already have that information and know the means of what it means to get that funding. So if you are placed in a lab, that's definitely a conversation to have with your faculty member if they already have funding. If that's something you'll still need, that's also, like I said, just that conversation. And with that, we also wanted to plug another office, which is Undergraduate Research and Fellowships, in case you're still looking for funding, or maybe you're actually in a different state and would rather do some research closer there. They post tons of opportunities as well with other universities that welcome Columbia engineering students. But another great resource and advisors that you can reach out to. And then we also just wanted to show our Facebook and Instagram, not just to get followers, but also because we actually do post a lot of those fellowship information as well. And if there's any big announcements with our research positions, research program, we'll also put those on our Facebook and Instagram. And then I'll turn it back over to Dario, and he will introduce us to our panelists and moderate that portion.
Okay, so to begin, I think we're going to hear first from a few of our students. So Karen, if you're ready with your slides to share your screen. Um, Karen is one of our students who had a wonderful experience doing summer research, and she's going to share with us some of her experience, what she's learned, and any information she would like to share with all of you. So Karen, please take it away.
Yes, hi everybody. I am an undergraduate in Cs. Let me figure out how to play my slideshow. Okay, I'm a second year, I'm a sophomore. I'm studying Earth and Environmental Engineering with a minor in computer science. And I had the opportunity last summer to do research with the Earth Institute, which if you're not aware of what that is, it's a Columbia affiliated organization that does research both at the Morningside campus and at what they call the Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory, which is a little bit farther away. I did end up doing it remotely because of the situation and because of last summer, but that's just a little background as into what the Earth Institute is. My project was about integrating remote sensing with in situ recordings of nutrient concentrations in the Long Island Sound, which per any research project is a really long title for a very summary of long work over the summer. So I'm just going to give like a brief little overview about how I got this opportunity and what it meant to do it in a virtual environment and how I was able to take away and to learn from that experience. So first, the application process. I applied to a lot of things last summer, as I'm sure most people do when they go through this process. So one of the things that I did apply for was for the Earth Institute internships. If you're interested in sustainability, if you're interested in, they have data science, they have social science, they have policy, like they have so many different things that they offer through this program. And an interesting thing about this program, it is offered every single semester. So it's offered in the spring, it's offered in the summer, it's offered in the fall. Last year, I ended up doing the summer version. This year, I've actually come back and I'm doing the spring version. So different scenarios, the summer version is a little more intense because you have more time to commit to it. So I applied, you go through a brief interview process, and then essentially the PIs determine whether you would be a good fit for their lab or not. And in my experience, that's similar to a lot of research opportunities. You just have a casual conversation with the professor who's doing the research, and if they feel like you'd be a good fit for the lab, and in most cases, if you're interested in the lab, they're very open to you conducting research with them. So I did this research for 12 weeks during the summer at 35 hours a week. That's just some logistics. My motivation for finding this opportunity was that I was trying to find an integration between various interests, and I found that the Earth Institute was really great to study those interdisciplinary interests. So I was able to do something computer science related, but in an environmental focus, which was something that I was looking for. So if you're interested in interdisciplinary aspects, I think what Daria was saying really applies. Like you can do research in whichever field, depending on if that's your major or not. Like it's not really relevant. You study what you want to study. So the project that I ended up doing was remote sensing, which is essentially using satellite imagery and satellite observations to derive like quantifiable, measurable characteristics of, in my case, water quality. So I was looking at organic nutrients like dissolved organic matter or chlorophyll or total nitrogen concentration, et cetera, just to see the health of in this case, the Long Island Sound was the ecosystem that we were studying. The modality of this internship for me was remote. This was just due to the conditions of last summer. I found that it didn't really detract from my experience at all. I had regular meetings with my PI. I had regular meetings with my lab. They were always available to me on Slack or email or text, whichever mode you end up using to communicate with them. But I think that definitely research can still be conducted remotely, regardless of the field that you're in. There's always something to be doing. If it's just background research, if it's writing a paper, if it is more data analysis, I think that those are all skills that are important to learn, especially in this environment. And then a quick mention of my mentors. Dr. Maria Tsortzio was my PI. I'm working with her again this spring. And then Bryce Gunnert and Alana Mendez helped me out a lot. So then just a culmination of like what you can accomplish in this virtual environment. So I learned a lot of new skills, and that's just again to say that you do not need to be an expert in anything when you're starting a research project. I had never had any experience in remote sensing before. All I knew is that I was interested in the topic. So I learned how to do remote sensing. I learned how to work with NASA satellite imagery, how to download them, how to process them, how to put them into a readable, usable, friendly format. I also did a lot of statistical analysis. I did a lot of spatial analysis, time series analysis. On the left here is just a couple of the graphs, the many graphs that I had to put together in order to understand the data that I was looking at. So all this just goes to say that there is a lot that can be accomplished regardless of what circumstance you're put in. My internship was not supposed to be remote. When I first signed up for the internship, it was supposed to be in person. I was supposed to be doing wet lab field work. So it changed very drastically, but I can't say that that detracted from my experience at all. And I still learned a lot from this experience, and enough so that I wanted to come back and do it again this semester. So yeah, you guys feel free to ask me any questions you want about this specific internship, about just general research at Columbia, etc. That's just a little bit of my story with research in COVID.
Thank you, Karen, for that wonderful overview. We're going to, if you have any questions for Karen, please go ahead and do type those in. We're going to hold off on Q&A, and hopefully, Karen, you can stay with us till the end. Wonderful. So now we're going to switch gears to Wangzhi Li, one of our MS Data Science Institute students. Please go ahead once you're ready to share your screen. He has the wonderful opportunity to work with one of our PIs, Sharon D, and I'll let him introduce himself a little more and tell you about his summer research experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Dario. Let me share my screen. Can you see the screen? Yeah, okay. So yeah, I'm Wangzhi Li, and I'm a master's student in data science. So, yeah, I will firstly introduce myself, and then my project. So I was in Data Science Institute and was in the class of year 2021. So I'm the second year master's student now. So the research project I'm working on is the reinforcement learning-based traffic signal control. So it's kind of a combination between the artificial intelligence technique and the civil engineering thing. My mentor is Sharon D, Professor Sharon D, and our project objective is that we want to finish a literature review of the RLTSC, that is reinforcement learning traffic signal control. And then we want to, based on what we found that is a gap from the literature review, then we want to develop a RLTSC system that it is under a specific condition that is a low kinetic vehicle penetration rate. It's kind of a turn. So the thing is that currently the vehicle now is not reconnected to each other, but it's like Tesla or some intelligent vehicle, they will be able to connect to other vehicles or other infrastructures on the road. Then we can get more information. But in the near future, we may not be able to get a lot of them. So we may really have a low percentage of them that we call the low penetration rate. So we want to know what is going to happen under such a specific condition. That's our objective. So we firstly do a literature review, and then we develop such a system. And due to the COVID-19, the lab experience definitely is remote, but it's actually like, Karen said, it's not bothered that much. It's okay. Especially if I do some computer science thing, you don't need to do a lot of experiments in person, in the lab. And my case is kind of special because my duration is not only for the summer. I actually applied the project like in the summer, I think in the fall semester in the 2019. But at that time, there's no opening. But I keep contacting with Professor Sharon, and by the end of December of 2019. Sharon messaged me, said there might be an opportunity in the spring. So, and it requires me to have some basic analogy about reinforcement learning. So I spent the whole winter vacation to learn the reinforcement learning and start my project since the January 2020. So I continue my project during the summer as well as the fall, as also this spring semester. So I've already spent like 1 year in this program. So my future plan is that because I've done a lot of research in this field and I feel pretty interested in it. So I pretty want to pursue PhD in this field and want to make my contribution to this community. And now I will briefly introduce some motivation and what I learned and my suggestion to you guys. So the reason why I want to do the summer research as well as maybe generally just the research is that I pretty want to dig deeper in one field because I feel like it's kind of important to you have some invaluable skills. And I'm pretty interested in smart city and intelligent transportation. actually, the reason is that I graduated from civil engineering in my undergrad, but then I found that maybe because of data science, big data era, maybe we can try to combine some new technique to make our city to be smarter. So we can try to combine the new technique. Then I choose a master in Columbia as a data science student. So I follow these steps. So I continue to do some interdisciplinary research in my master year. So that's my interest. That's also a really important point why I want to do the research. And I also feel like the summer research is kind of important and necessary for me for my PhD application, because it's given me a really long time, like 3 months, so I can concentrate on it to get some really good results. And what I learned from my research experience is that I feel like research is not like a coursework thing, because you have to keep learning and keep trying, because you don't know the answer and nobody knows the answer. But you keep learning, then you would know more about how to do it and how other people do this thing. And you keep trying instead, because based on what you learn, then you can see what people didn't do and what you can do. And usually what you would do some exploration and get some result. And the result might align with your expectation or might not. But then you just keep trying and think why is that case, and write some other assumptions and then do more experiment to try to confirm what is happening, and just do like step-by-step thing. Then you would not, then finally you will find that try to summarize what you'll find, then you get some really good result. That's about research thing. And my suggestion about summer research is that it's kind of really good opportunity that I mentioned before, especially when you're not sure about pursuing PhD or go to job seeking thing, because the summer research will give you a really long time, like 3 months, to give you an immersive experience about it. And then at that time, after these 3 months, you would better know about the feeling of research. And after that, you can make a better decision, because you can ask yourself whether or not you feel is interested or not. Because the lifestyle of research is kind of different from working, because for the research, it really requires you to be self-motivated. You need to think about what is happening. You need to set the goals on your own. And the second strategy I want to give is that you can contact your target professor as soon as possible. Even though you want to do the summer research, you don't need to wait until April or March. You can contact them as soon as possible, because they might have the opening. Maybe, as you said, maybe if you want to start your research earlier, if you contact them now, maybe you can just join the group immediately. It's also possible. And I also want to say that one's better than two. That is, if you want to do research, and you also want to apply PhD thing, you might thought that maybe if I have multiple experience, like a series of them, or do a lot of research, that'd be better. But I feel like it's more appropriate to spend all of time focusing on one project, because the research thing, it actually, because it just keeps trying, you need to do a lot of exploration thing. So you can deeper if you spend a lot of time. So I feel like focus on one, then you can get a better result. It's better than you work on multiple projects simultaneously, but cannot do a good job in each of them. So I think that is my research experience. And although it's not only about summer research, but I feel like it's kind of good for you guys if you want to do a research for a long time and then apply a PhD application. And I'm really happy to answer any question if you feel curious. And I think I can pass the stage to my next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Wangzhi. And some very good informational tips for everyone. So thank you. And like Wangzhi said, I think the one thing is to start early and contact faculty. So thankfully, we're joined today by two of our engineering faculty members, Dan Esposito and John Kymissis. I'm going to ask John or Dan, do you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit first, either one, a little bit about your experience, and if you have anything you would like to share, photos, slides, please, the floor is yours, and let us know what your thoughts are on summer research students and what do they need to know.
I guess I can jump in. and I can start with the story of my own life, which is that doing research as an undergraduate was really important for me. I actually, when I was a freshman, I could not, for the life of me, get anyone to take me on. And so my sophomore year, I wound up doing a project, which is actually kind of cool, on underwater coral analysis. There's a whole story to that that's not important. But my sophomore year, I approached somebody because I thought I saw an ad that he put up saying he was looking for undergraduate researchers. And I said, I'm here to apply for the job on energy harvesting. He said, I have no idea what you're talking about, but that sounds cool. Let's do that. I was like, all right, great. And I wound up working there, and the rest is the rest. So I really, really recommend that students seek it out. And I think, Wangzhi had a very good suggestion, which is to start early, because, the summer is a great time, but I always warn students, not warn, but the summer is an opportunity also to consider working at a company. And it's the only time in your life where you can go somewhere for 2.5 months, quit, and they still like you. That's not true after you graduate. And, you don't obviously want to wait until you take a permanent job to figure out what you really want to do. And that's true for research as well. So summer is a great time to do research. Absolutely. You can get a lot done. And particularly if you're thinking about research as a full-time career, you'll have, if you do a PhD, you'll have years to deal with finding summer internships. But the semester is a good time to get involved, and there are a few different reasons to do those experiences. I don't want to bore people with slides. I have lots and lots of pictures, which are not that, they're fun and I'm excited by them. But while I was going through, I made a list of why you should consider summer doing research either during the semester or during the summer. And the top #1 reason is to meet new people. And I know I hate the word networking. It's like a dirty word sometimes because it just feels slimy, but you really do want to meet people. You're going to build up who you know, and those are people who are going to go to bat for you forever. And I told you the story of my summer job. Those people are still around. They still write tenure letters. They still get involved. As long as they continue to like you and you keep in touch. But also, the students that you meet, they're going to become faculty. The postdocs that you meet, they're going to be managers at companies. And so, it's a really great way to build a network that can be very difficult otherwise as an undergraduate, because you'll get to meet people that are at all levels of seniority. And so that's one reason to do it. Even if you don't get a lot done, that's a benefit. The second is you can get a lot done. And, I pulled a lot of pictures of projects undergraduates are involved in, and a lot of students panic. They're like, I don't have any experience. Like, don't worry. Nobody has any experience. It's fine. Even the graduate students, they don't have that much experience either. That's fine. They start. The most important thing is that willingness to get involved, and you throw yourself into it. And, yes, it takes work, but once you get into it, that's when you can learn new techniques, get trained. My work is very experimental, as is Dan's, and he'll speak a little more in a second. Getting trained in the clean room, in the SMCL, to learn how to do the X-ray diffraction, whatever. That takes a couple weeks to get the safety training, to find the right people, to have the samples ready. Earlier you get started, the better. And it also means that you can hit the ground running later in your career. If you do decide, for example, that graduate school is a good option, it's nice. You can save that first year of just learning, where the, what the basics are. And then you can also get some publications. And my highest cited first author publication is from when I was an undergraduate. And I know it's a little embarrassing at some level, but it's also my oldest publication. They only accumulate citations. So I have a couple where I'm like the second author. I have a couple where I'm the senior author, but I've stopped writing first author publications. And, that project that my mentor thought was a good idea that I thought I saw an ad for, was a good idea. And that was kind of fun. So anyway, I'll stop speaking and I'll pass it on to Dan, and happy to answer questions and stuff as we go.
Thanks, John, as well as to Wangzhi and Karen. Lots of really great advice. So I will, as I go through, I just have a couple of really simple slides where I jotted down some bullet points here. And there are a couple of things that I'll want to reiterate that have already been mentioned, but maybe a couple of new thoughts in here as well. So just starting by introducing myself, I'm a professor in the Department of Chemical Engineering. I've been here at Columbia for 6 years now. My lab does primarily experimental work. So I kind of group my thoughts into 3 different areas here. The first one is that I wanted to briefly reiterate a few thoughts that were already mentioned in terms of just promoting the benefits of doing research as an undergrad. I think it was Wangzhi that mentioned the benefit of working on open-ended problems. As you're all probably well aware, a lot of the problems that you're assigned for homework sets for your core classes have a single correct answer in many cases, with a single correct way of doing the problem. The vast majority of problems in the real world are not that way. And that's true of the vast majority of research assignments that you would get with an undergraduate research project as well. So there's just so much value in gaining experience, applying what you've learned from your core classes to open-ended problems that really force you to also develop those critical and creative thinking skills as well. To reiterate what a couple the other speakers mentioned as well, I do think that the earlier that you can get involved with research, to give it a shot, the better. As John mentioned, don't be intimidated. In fact, I really like to see that when there's a really highly motivated freshman or sophomore that's looking to get involved early on, because there's just so much to learn when you enter a new research area. It's like digesting a completely new vocabulary while you're at it. These things take time to learn techniques, to get familiar with all the terminology. So getting involved early, helps you to figure out if that particular topic is one that you're really interested in and you want to work on in subsequent semesters or subsequent summers as well. But also, if it is an area that you're really passionate about and want to continue working in, then you can build off of that and maybe follow up that summer research with research during the semester or the following academic year, where you can really start to get into the weeds and contribute in even more meaningful ways to the project. Like Professor Kymissis, I also did quite a bit of undergraduate research myself way back in the day, and it was extremely eye-opening and rewarding experience for me in terms of being able to meet new people. I still interact quite regularly with other students that I participated in research with through those programs. And one of the most valuable things was just getting that taste for research and getting a sense for what graduate school is like. Because as an undergraduate researcher, you are almost always assigned a graduate student or postdoc mentor who's there to help guide you along the way. That person is really important. So you get a chance to kind of immerse yourself in that sort of lifestyle and figure out if that's something that you would like to do after you graduate from undergrad. Although research is certainly something that's not done just at universities. Research is also done at national labs and in industry as well. So you heard quite a bit already about some of the specific opportunities and programs that are offered through SEAS and the Summer at SEAS program, which is absolutely fantastic. Adriana and crew do a really great job. There's a lot of good professional development opportunities in addition to the research. I did want to briefly mention here as well, though, because I know I myself took advantage of this when I was an undergraduate. There are also other opportunities as well. You have hopefully a couple of summers here that you're trying to figure out what you want to do. There are also REU programs at other universities. There are, I think, over 100 different site REU programs that are funded by the National Science Foundation and hosted at other universities. These programs tend to be focused around a certain thematic area, something like sensors or bioengineering or chemical engineering or something like that. And I've created I have a link here that I'll also drop in the chat for people to check out if you want. But a lot of programs end up having deadlines for applications sometime in February or so. Don't quote me on that, but these deadlines are coming up. So I hope that many of you will consider sticking around and doing research here at Columbia for the summer. But there are also good opportunities to spend your summers at other universities as well. So do keep that in mind. Number 3, and I'll keep this brief, but I did want to reiterate what a couple of other people mentioned, and that's to keep an open mind with respect to the topic that you would do research on for the summer. So you don't need to, I would encourage you not to restrict yourself to a very narrow topic that you're currently very, very interested in. And part of this is because how do you really know that that's the thing that you want to do until you've had a chance to experience a whole bunch of different topics? Number 2, the thing that you will maybe get most value out of or take away from a summer research experience is the skill sets that you learn. Skill sets in analysis and experimental methods, in communication. These are things that are transferable across all sorts of different topics that are out there. And those are maybe the most valuable thing that you'll take away at the end of the day. Hopefully you also have a chance to contribute in a meaningful way to an impactful project. But do keep in mind that there's a lot else that can come out of these research projects as well. So I'll stop there and turn things back over to Adriana.
Thank you. So now we're actually going to open it up to questions. So if anybody has questions for any of our presenters or just the general research program, what it looks like, feel free to unmute yourself, feel free to put it in the chat, and we'll all be around to answer your questions.
And we have quite a number of students on this call, so I'm sure we have many, many questions. So please, oh, and we have our first question, Adriana.
Cool. So somebody said, are there summer research opportunities for MS students? The answer is yes. So that first slide where we showed the different numbers of students, that encompasses both MS and undergraduate. So once you start looking at the positions, the faculty member will note which level of student, so if it should be an undergraduate or an MS student. So there definitely will be some positions open. And then I see, when your lab applies for funding for the summer, does that mean you'll receive a stipend as well, or would that just pay for you being there? So how that works is that if your faculty member receives that funding, it will go to you as a stipend. So just like you're being paid for another job. So if you put that towards your housing, if you're putting it towards your food, all that kind of good stuff, it's more so like you're getting paid for a other job. So what are the different avenues to get funding for summer research, and what is the timeline? So the ones that's offered specifically through C's and our dean's office, like we mentioned, that will be through your faculty members. I'll actually let Dario, because I know he works a little more with that, maybe talk about any more insight into those funding aspects.
Sure. So please do check out our website. So a lot of the information is on our website. Essentially, the different avenues for funding. I'd say take a look at the research opportunities. The research opportunities are usually backed by funding for certain PIs and faculty member. And then there's a question, a follow-up question, I think, from Danny, who, will there be more opportunities posted in coming weeks? Yes, there will be more opportunities. We are getting more and more research positions every few days, so please take a look at our website.
We are also asked if there's a recording. There is, and we'll also be actually posting that on the student research website. And if you also can't find it or want more information about the recording, you can email this email address that's up right now, and we have access to it and we can reply to you that way. Yep, another question, is it too ambitious to try to do summer research while working a summer job? Are there any part-time summer research opportunities? So maybe if any of our panelists want to jump in about that, about balancing a summer job while doing a summer research project?
I guess I can speak about that. And like everything, it depends. But the summer job, I'll say, especially for an undergraduate, you should pick a summer job that's challenging, and that means it'll be relatively time consuming. And I'm not here to say it's not possible. Certainly is. There's lots of hours in the week, but I have not had tremendous personal success with students that have tried to do both. Or, for example, I've also had students try to do 2 summer internships at the same time, and that I find is pretty tough. Now, I understand a lot of questions came up about funding. The earlier you find a PI and reach out, the sooner they can also start looking for money. And especially if you're an undergraduate, but even for graduate students, there are a number of mechanisms that are available for faculty to try to raise more money in order to support summer students. And again, sometimes they'll only have enough to give you, $5,000 or something on that order. Sometimes they'll have a little bit more available. But if you speak with them in May, they will not have had a lot of runway to do that search and to have a clean answer. So if the level of that you'll be getting paid is significant, and that is a difference between finding a job or doing research, let me echo everyone's advice: start looking really early.
Great. And then we got a question. This can be maybe towards our faculty members. They said, how would you recommend reaching out to professors? Cold emailing seems a little daunting. What advice would you give?
Yeah, I'd say don't be intimidating, and also no hard feelings if you don't hear back. Faculty members certainly get a lot of similar requests on top of dozens of other various requests as well, and sometimes things fall through the cracks. But there are things that you can do in that email which will increase the probability that you will get a response from that faculty member. Adriana mentioned spending some time looking at faculty's websites to really get a sense for what research they're doing, taking a look at a few papers to see if that is something that you're really interested in doing. And in that email that you send to a professor, I think it's helpful to maybe hit a sweet spot in terms of length. You want to try to convey the fact that you are really interested, make the case that you're the person for the job, you have the skill set, and not necessarily the skill set, but maybe you have some skill sets that are well aligned with what the lab does, and you're highly motivated to work with the lab, you've read some of the papers. I think that can help. And you could also potentially, if they get back to you and say, sorry, I don't have any openings for you, you could also ask a follow-up question of if they have any recommendations for any other faculty doing similar research. I don't know, John, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah,
I know it's tricky, especially in this COVID environment right now, where you don't necessarily have as much opportunity for FaceTime. But if you do have faculty whose classes that you're taking, whose research you're interested in, stick around at the end of the Zoom class, the Zoom session for class, or show up to their office hours. I know a lot of faculty, including myself, that are always happy to chat with students a bit more informally in office hours about things like research.
Yeah, and I'll say a few other things. I mean, one is Dan's suggestion to look at REU sites. I can't say how great those are. I'll say we're still waiting to see if ours is going to be renewed, but I used to direct a site, and we're waiting to see if we're renewed this year here. And it's basically like a summer camp for research. And that's kind of one nice part of it, is that you get to see another part of the country. You get to go to another school. Some of those, everybody wants to be in Santa Barbara surfing on the beach, are very competitive. Others are less competitive. And I don't want to say that they're not, some of them are at amazing places. It's just how competitive it is really about the ratio of people applying to positions available. And some large schools like UT Austin, Georgia Tech, top-notch institutions also will have like 8 REU sites. And so a huge number of seats. Let me recommend that. You don't have to talk to anybody to apply there. But
there are 724 listings on the NSF site, the link that I put in the chat. So there are a lot of them out there.
And the NSF database also includes a few sites that are run by the Department of Defense and by NASA. And so there's a lot out there. The one unfortunate thing is we don't have to get into it, but next year, the national labs, the Department of Energy national labs, run a unified admissions now, which unfortunately closed like 2 weeks ago. But that's something, if you're interested in going, that's another option. Okay. Second is, don't be intimidated. We're not, I mean, a lot of times I meet students and they're like, oh, you're so casual. And it's like, yeah, all right. You know, honestly, I was an undergrad too once. I don't know. I'm older. Sure. I don't have any hair anymore. You know, but like, they're just like you. Don't worry about it. They're just fast forward a couple of years, you'll be there too. And I know it's intimidating. I really do. Trust me, I've been there. And it's very frustrating to send out 6 emails and to hear back nothing from 4, you know, a sorry, you know, I'm full from 1. But, you know, the 1 or 2 that engage, even if it's a no, you can convert that into something. Do you have any colleagues who might be interested? Thank you so much. If anything comes up, let me know. You'd be surprised at how much traction you can get. But yeah, you are kissing frogs a little bit. And when you're kissing frogs, you don't be disappointed if, you know, they don't all convert.
Thank you. So another question that we received is, does Columbia provide housing for summer researchers? So this one is one of those aspects too. We're still kind of waiting to hear what Columbia's on-campus presence will just look like because of COVID. Some of our students sometimes will be able to be housed on campus. Others will prefer to find their housing off campus. And there's a couple of different resources that Columbia also provides for that. It's pretty popular in New York to do subletting over the summer. So there definitely will be those kind of opportunities. Once again, just waiting to hear more of what our campus will look like due to COVID.
One thing just that is, when people say Columbia provide housing, you have to apply for it. The housing office is very weird about this. And unless you're in an organized program, you will have to apply, do all the paperwork, etc. And the dates are extremely rigid. So just look in advance, keep an eye on, yeah, they still haven't announced what's going to happen, but I assume we'll have that in the next 2 weeks or so. If you are interested, you'll need to move all the paperwork yourself, which, just one thing, I've had students where they've been like, oh, I would love to join the housing block. And it's like, there's no housing block. Like, it's, you know, it's a process.
And
yes,
if I can just also add something, just so that people are aware, because it's part of the same response. If you receive a stipend through any of the Dean's Office stipend provisions, it doesn't also automatically include housing. You have to pay for your housing in your own way. So if you are able to get a stipend through your PI, you would need to pay for your housing. So just as you're thinking and planning, to keep that in mind.
Thank you. Very, very important points as well. Another student asked, what is the best way to apply for positions, such as on the research opportunities page? Is there an application, or would we reach out directly to PI? I'll actually have Dario answer this question about applying for positions.
Yeah, so applying for positions, you reach out directly to the PI. You know, it's sort of like John was saying, you're applying to a job. Don't be intimidated. You're describing why you want to do the research, and really providing more of a context of why you are a good fit to be in that research group. And so ask as many questions beforehand if you can about the person's research, show interest. And if you need more tips and advice on how to start that conversation, check out the Center for Career Education. Adriana put a link here. They have some really good resources, and they do tons of workshops throughout the semester. So do check them out. Adriana, do we have any more questions here?
Yes, we do.
I do have, just to jump in real quick, an idea for students, especially those of you that might be a little bit younger. Maybe you're only freshman, sophomore, and your resume, your application might not be as competitive, for example, for some of the NSF REU programs, which tend to heavily focus on rising seniors or rising juniors. Also consider reaching out to faculty at universities close to where you live for the summer. That's a good potential backup, or even a first option if you end up finding a faculty member at a university near your hometown that does stuff that you're really intrigued in. So that's another opportunity to consider that might allow you to get involved with undergraduate research earlier than you otherwise would.
Thank you, Dan. Maybe in these last few minutes, Adriana, we can just go around with the panelists and maybe say some good last minute tips, reminders, if we have time. Let's start with Karen. Karen, if you could just help us close us out and just tell us some last words of encouragement for everyone on the call.
Yeah, I guess my main suggestion would be not to be afraid to reach out to people. The worst they can do is not respond to you. It's not going to hurt you at the end of the day. I would also encourage you to look into multiple options, because if you sit down and have a conversation with multiple people, you'll discover where your true interests really lie, and it'll allow you to really start pursuing and start doing something that you're interested in, which is the most important thing at the end of the day.
Thank you. Wangzhi, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, I think the most important thing in research is about passion. So if you're not sure where your passion is, then maybe just summer research can help you to find what you love. Thank you.
Thank you. And please, our faculty members, please take it away.
I guess I can say you've gotten a lot of good advice. Again, you're kissing frogs at some level, especially as Dan mentioned, if you're a first or second year student, and that's okay. No one's going to remember that they ignored your email or whatever. It's not going to harm you. And I think the other thing is, don't overthink the project. If you're, I know it sounds like you might be cleaning the floor or whatever, may not be that helpful. And okay, obviously you shouldn't do anything that's a waste of time, but look at your options, and doing something this summer is definitely above doing nothing. And meeting the other people that are involved as you get involved in the lab, you'll absolutely get something out of almost any experience. And so I highly recommend making sure that you have something teed up.
So I would end by reiterating Karen's message of trying to get a lot of applications out there to increase your odds of landing something. And when you get something, have fun as well. When you land a research position that you really enjoy, it definitely doesn't feel like work. It's really enjoyable. So yeah, try to enjoy the process while you're at it.
Thank you. And I'll also just add, in case you went through all of this and realized maybe research isn't for me, we just wanted to include these other offerings as well that are open to our engineering students. Our Center for Undergraduate Global Engagement will do some little portion of a study abroad, not the full immersion one, of course, but they do have some virtual options in some Columbia-led programs that will be happening this summer, as well as the Center for Career Education always has opportunities on internships, and we'll have some tips with remote ones as well. I know we didn't get to, I think, every single question, but if you do have any more questions about the student research program, we do have this email alias that you can also email any of those kind of questions. If anything comes up later that you would like to ask a panelist, you can also send it to us there and we can pass it along to that faculty or student. So thank you everyone for joining us. Of course, for all of our panelists, that has been very helpful and very insightful to hear about your summer experiences. And we really thank everyone for joining some time with us this Friday.
Thank you all.